from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay.
There's a goat in the bathroom.
One goat's unique day away from the farm.
This is a result of all of the anger in the countryside right now among cattle producers because of the market, because of the prices.
Calls for change after a fire at a beef processing plant over the summer, as snow, wind, and cold temperatures threaten crops in farm country.
A lot of challenges ahead for producers across that region.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Clint Griffiths. Happening right now, a major snowstorm is continuing to impact the Rockies and Northern Plains. The National Weather Service in Wyoming providing these pictures, this one from Park County in the northwest part of the state near Cody on Wyoming 120. And not far from that along Chief Joseph Highway, Wyoming 296, blowing snow, a big issue. AgDay meteorologist Mike Hoffman is here. Mike, that snow is an issue, the wind is too, and then there's the temperatures that will follow.
Well, that's right, Clinton. This is a major winter storm, so let's check it all out. This is the latest computer model from the GFS. That's the main computer model here in the United States, and you can see, boy, all of that deepest purple is a foot or more. There may be 18 to 20 inches in some areas, and we're talking blizzard conditions in a lot of this area. Eastern North Dakota, much of South Dakota except the southeast corner, and then the western portions of Nebraska. And of course, that goes back into the Denver area. It goes into parts of Wyoming as well. As far as temperatures go, this morning, you can see it's still in the 50s to near 60 east of the front, but behind it, it is an amazing quick change, and you can see we are looking at mid-20s to around 30 degrees most of the time while it's snowing, and wind chill factors are going to be even lower than that. As a matter of fact, our wind speed forecast is showing that across the northern and central plain states. Lots of high winds in that area, especially behind this system. In front of it, there'll be some scattered thunderstorms with a little bit of wind, but it really is behind it. You can see by the time we get to tomorrow morning, it's entire plains all the way down into northern and western Texas turning windy, and it's just up and down the middle of the country as we head through the end of the day tomorrow. We'll have more in your forecast coming up.
For many producers right now, it's a race against the clock to harvest what they can ahead of the storm and the cold temperatures. And as USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey tells us, there may be extra work after they bring in the harvest.
There could be some very late planted soybeans in states like South Dakota that could get hit before they're fully mature by the freezes. Bigger concern is corn. We have, again, nationally just over half of the crop fully mature. Those numbers are much lower across the northern Corn Belt. Only 22% of the corn fully mature in North Dakota on October 6th. And if you move another stage back to dented, almost a quarter of the corn in North Dakota has not yet dented. Some of that corn, that really late corn, is going to be caught green by this freeze. We may lose a little bit of that really late corn. It could turn to mush with sub-freezing temperatures. We may lose that and not be able to harvest it. The corn that has reached the denting stage, we might take a little bit off the yield potential there, but it should eventually be harvested. It will be wet, a very moist, high content, a very high moisture content, and we're going to be looking at a situation where that's either going to have to dry for an extended period in the field, or it's going to have to be mechanically dried. So that is going to be a long process, getting some of that corn to where it can be harvested. And for the soybeans as well, producers want to get that out, but given the field wetness and the fact that conditions are just not conducive for harvest right now, it's going to be tough to get the corn and soybeans out across the upper Midwest.
Rippey says producers should be watching soybeans for pod shattering, which could affect yield potential. AgDay national reporter Betsy Gibbon is in Nebraska right now. Betsy talked with two producers who aren't too worried, even as the possibility of frost moves in.
I think where we're at right now, I think we're sitting all right. The beans should be finished out and get ready for a frost, and we should be able to get combining after that frost. And then corn, my earliest planted stuff sitting about 24%, so we should be right, and I don't think it'll hurt it much. So
to me, I'm not worried about it because I think I have everything far enough along. I know that one field you were looking at down there, but it might have a low test weight. But I think it's far enough along. I think it'll be all right.
Not snow, but concerns about wildfires mean millions of people are losing electricity again today throughout northern and central California. That's after Pacific Gas and Electric announced it would start to shut off power to try and prevent wildfires caused by faulty lines. It said it would be turning off power to 800,000 customers in 34 counties amid forecasts of windy, dry weather. The Los Angeles Times reporting that utility issues have been linked to some of the state's most destructive fires, including last year's Camp Fire. The 13th round of trade negotiations between the U.S. and China continues today, with the major players set to meet in Washington over the next couple of days. And there's word Chinese officials are offering to increase the country's annual purchases of U.S. ag products. The Financial Times, citing unnamed sources, reporting China will offer to boost its annual buys of U.S. soybeans to 30 million metric tons. That's up from 20 million. The increase would be equivalent to about $3.25 billion in additional orders. Markets are gearing up for today's reports, but we'll look ahead to 2020 next in analysis. And this fire at a beef processing plant earlier this summer still being felt by the market, but are things improving? We have an update.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Roxor Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
The market's still moving in positive territory on Wednesday. Soybeans fueled by that report that China may step up its annual buys of U.S. ag. We get an update now from the CME.
Today in the grain market, soybeans did rise. China did look to buy some more beans to the tune of about 10 million tons. That makes a total of about 30 million for the year. But we still have to wait for the U.S. to accept. The president is kind of waiting to decide whether he wants to do that, but the idea of it really gave traders a little bit of a push to the market, and it was up double digits, a little over 10 cents at one point, closing up over about 4.5. The winter storm still is at issue. We're going to watch that closely because it could have some effects on these prices. Corn is steady today ahead of tomorrow's USDA report, but the snow should be less trouble for corn than the soybeans, but the USDA numbers will really give us market direction, and that's what we're going to be looking for. Are we going to hang on to the rally that we've sustained over the last couple of weeks? Wheat was a little bit mixed today. The funds are still holding on to some of their positions. It looks like the storm will guarantee that everything that's still in the field will not get out. So in that respect, we think that possibly this could be the top of the market for wheat.
Currently, markets are positioning for the first widespread cold snap of the year, and today's reports from USDA. Well, Farm Journal's Tyson Morgan joins us from our studios in Kansas City with a look beyond this week's newsmakers.
Here now with Brian Bastine of Advanced Trading, talking a lot about 2019, all the uncertainty still surrounding 2019's crop. But when you look at 2020, Brian, are there some concerns that you have specifically when it comes to possible acreage?
I think front burner is 19, Tyne, as you mentioned. However, when we look ahead to 2020, we're seeing December 2020 corn futures back above $4 now. Now, this is what we really encourage growers to remember. This year, we had some issues with planting. We backed off our acreage and we backed off yields from initial expectations. There's a possibility we could really ramp up corn acreage in 2020, given that background and given the competition we're seeing right now from Brazil, Argentina, Ukraine in the export market. We're thinking growers should be looking at 2020 to give some flexibility, or at least a starting point, but give the market plenty of room this far ahead.
Talking to some producers this year, they say they got burned in forward contracting and, are frustrated with that side of the market. Do you think that this year actually kind of hinders marketing plans in years ahead just because it was such an unusual year, and those that didn't get to plant some of them did get burned?
The dangers, Tyne, in marketing are to base your current marketing plan on what did work or did not work the previous year. That can put you behind the 8 ball rather quickly. What we're encouraging growers to think about is a consistent approach to marketing, year in, year out, rather than picking and choosing, this is the year I'm going to do this and this is the year I'm going to do that. Consistency over time will be a winner, because if you base what you did do this year on what worked or didn't work last year, that can be a trap.
Well, what do you think about on the soybean side? I know, with possible acreage on corn, that's and the demand that we have at play today, that's a real concern. But what about soybeans? If we see lower acreage, that seems like possibly that could be some good news for soybeans. But at the same time, do you think we see acreage expand in South America this year?
That's a great point. There are indications as we speak here today in early October that we're going to see some expansion in South American planted acreage this fall. So that would increase the competition, obviously, again, assuming no weather issues in 2020. The big wild card in soybeans, Tyson, as you know, is China. And I think, again, you really want to give yourself flexibility here, because should a deal be reached, that could change the whole dynamics of the situation. With the absence of a deal, it could be a long year for soybeans.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on Ag Day.
To talk with Brian one-on-one, call Advanced Trading at 800-664-2314 or head online to advanced-trading.com. What do you call someone who does dozens of jobs? A farmer. At Pioneer, we're proud to work with generations of American farmers in the most complex and rewarding industry on earth. So from your friends at Pioneer, thank you, farmers.
Meteorologist Mike Hoffman taking a look at the weather map for us today. And Mike, a lot of talk about how cold it's going to get over the next few days.
And it's kind of sad. It's something that we didn't really want, is an early cold snap, an early snowstorm, considering the late planting season that we had across much of the country. But we'll go straight to the weather map and take a look at things. I'm going to talk about this storm off the East Coast first of all. These are both major storm systems. This one has hurricane force winds in it. Whether it's named or not ever, it's not necessarily a warm core, which is what you want for a tropical system. But there are going to be some major problems in the southeastern part of eastern Long Island, southeastern part of New England, with strong winds and some heavy rains. West of there, high pressure just kind of sitting there in eastern parts of the country, giving some very nice weather. Then, of course, there's the major storm system, major snowstorm. To the west of it, to the east of it, then you're just talking showers and thunderstorms. Heading through the day today, you can see how that snow really sits over the same areas for a while, all the way down into southeastern portions of Colorado. Showers and thunderstorms ahead of it. This storm is just going to sit there for a couple of days and continue to cause problems, like I said, just along the shorelines in the northeast. There's the front. By the time we get tomorrow, some showers and thunderstorms. Some of these could be on the heavy side as we start the day on Friday. You can see that in Arkansas and perhaps the southern Mississippi Valley as we head through the day. Then showers and thunderstorms up and down this front from Louisiana all the way into Michigan, with the snow winding down but still putting it down in parts of Minnesota and also eastern North Dakota. High pressure building in behind it. This is cold though, cold air. And then you can see the next front off the northwest coast. There's a precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours, adding in the next 36. Well, obviously, a lot of that's going to be in the form of snow. This is the melted variety, but all of this is liquid off to the east of it. Snowfall amounts, like I pointed out, this is a different model than I showed earlier in the show, but it's still showing very heavy amounts from South Dakota into North Dakota and even northwestern Minnesota. High temperatures today still in the 90s in parts of Texas, but the cold air is sweeping southward. Highs behind it only in the teens and low 20s, and you can see that's going to continue as we head through tomorrow afternoon. Feels like temperatures. It's going to have wind chills, some places in the single digits as the snow is flying. There's the jet stream, and you can see this storm system continuing to move off to the north and east as we head into the weekend. Finally kind of winding down as we head into next week and things settle down a little bit across the country. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading to Rapid City, South Dakota, heavy snow, blizzard conditions at times, high of just 29. Taking a look at Winona, Mississippi, partly sunny, warm and humid, high of 86. And finally Bangor, Maine, clouds along with some sunshine, high of 59.
Coming up, impacts from the fire at a beef processing plant in Kansas are still being felt across the country. And the fallout has brought some strong emotions. An in-depth look next in this week's Drover's Report.
Ag Day, brought to you by the Milk Business Conference. Don't miss this dairy business-focused event November 11th and 12th, 2019 in Las Vegas. Register today at milkbusinessconference.com.
This fire at a Tyson plant near Holcomb, Kansas in August is still having an impact on the markets. It sent some prices shooting higher while caused other prices to wane. And now, as Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan reports, there's a major call for change.
The fire at a Tyson beef processing plant in Holcomb, Kansas processes 6,000 head per day, which is roughly 6% of the total U.S. fed cattle capacity.
The boxed beef market shot up and then has quickly retreated back to previous levels or to where we would be this time of the year. So that effect is pretty much out of that market.
In the short term, this was adverse for margins to feedlot level, so you can't ignore that. And likewise, in the short term, it was good for margins at the packing level. Certainly gross margins improved and most likely net margins with that, although we don't have cost data and so forth to get real precise on net margins. So that's a pretty obvious impact from this.
The fire and market reaction sparked controversy.
There was lots of uncertainty on how much beef was lost, how extensive the damage was, how long the plant will be closed, and we didn't answer those questions, in the hours. It took days and weeks after the event.
Some of the market impact still hasn't sizzled out. Purdue University's Jason Lusk says despite all the emotion, basic fundamentals originally drove prices.
When you reduce processing capacity, that reduces demand for cattle, drove down cattle prices. And then we had extra costs in the system because we had to bring in extra workers on Saturdays and conversions of plants that pushed up wholesale prices.
Well, it certainly has influenced profitability in the short term for different sectors. And probably the most obvious two sectors are the packing sector and the feedlot sector.
That's creating anger among cattle producers with a new social media campaign push called #Fair Cattle Markets.
This is a result of all of the anger in the countryside right now among cattle producers because of the market, because of the prices.
Newly named NCBA CEO Colin Woodall says NCBA has not participated in the online push for change for one main reason.
And the reason why is because this is being pushed by a group called the Organization for Competitive Markets, OCM. And OCM is actually connected to the Humane Society of the United States. So while the anger in the countryside is very real, the fact that OCM is involved does not mean that this is going to be good for cattle producers.
Woodall says NCBA is hearing cattle producers' frustrations, voices that he says were already being heard by the current administration.
And fortunately, that anger has been heard not only by us, but also by Secretary Perdue. And so Secretary Perdue has launched an investigation, and the whole goal of this investigation is to understand what transpired, what happened, and to actually give us some facts and analysis.
Even when emotions are removed, the market reacted to the situation at hand.
There's a lot of uncertainty going into that day of the fire as well as the immediate aftermath. I'll remind most folks that actually the first week of August was a very volatile one in the stock market. And the reason that's relevant was there was a lot of uncertainty in the macroeconomic environment, and beef demand tends to be harmed when we have adverse development in the general economy, and therefore cattle prices get depressed.
As the market fuel from the fire subsides and equilibrium sets in, Peel thinks prices will continue to trend lower.
But eventually, I suspect the fall run will pressure prices. With wheat pasture demand good, we actually may see straight, sideways to slightly stronger prices here for another 2 or 3 weeks before we get into bigger numbers of cattle.
That's as economists hope new trade deals with countries like Japan will create needed demand.
Coming up, a goat decides to take a little trip. But where he wound up shocked everyone. Next.
Hey y'all, Justin Moore here. Get ready to kick up some dust with the Roxor Dirt Roads and a Country Show sweepstakes. Enter now for a chance to win a customized off-road Roxor and 2 VIP tickets to one of my upcoming concerts. Visit roxoroffroad.com/Justin Moore.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
A goat had a very exciting day away from the farm. Check out what was caught on a house security camera. This happened in Ohio. Watch as a large goat just walks right into the living room. Now, police say the goat broke into the home by ramming through a sliding glass door. The man returns to the home to find his German Shepherd agitated and the house reeking. That's when he discovered the goat, named Big Boy. Now he found him napping the day away in the bathroom. Sheriff's deputies arrived, put a rope around Big Boy's neck, and then tried to get him outside by enticing him with food. They finally managed to grab the goat by the horns and lead him outside. Now the homeowner says her home definitely smells like a goat farm. Big boy, getting it done. That's all the time we have this morning. We're just glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.